Alright, so I think I'm going to try and participate in the cannon fodder contest. We'll see how far I can get, but my cannon fodder mass-produced mobile suit is the AMS-119 Geara Doga, and I am currently still formulating my plans, but it's definitely going to be a custom build, so look forward to the progress right here. Let's go. I knew I wanted to use the GPO2 larger feet, similar to the Jag Doga, some clawed feet, and some huge thrusters. There's a huge one right in the back there, some smaller ones on the side. To do this, I believe I'm going to cut out the lower portion of the Geara Doga leg and be mounting it farther out, embellishing the shape with some epoxy sculpt. I'm going to also try and round off some of the harsher angles on these shapes here as well, make it a little bit more Zeon-esque, and eventually down to the feet as well, kind of round off some of these harsh angles. Using these elements from the GPO2 as well to kind of simulate the rounded knee elements of the Jag Doga. So it's kind of a kitbash of some Zeon technology over the years, bringing in some visual elements from other suits as well as some literal technology from the past eras. Basically, we're going to be making the leg bigger, popping out the thrusters on the sides, adding the large thruster on the back, and cutting out the detail on the leg there, embellishing all the shapes. So we're gonna do the very first mod, and that's gonna be getting these feet actually hooked up to these ball joints. So we're gonna fix that right now. Alright, so I've been working on the legs here. And as you can see in the quick tips video, we've got the ankle joint working. I have been blocking out some of the major shapes using Blu-Tac. It's a pretty good temporary sculpting medium. I've embellished the thrusters on the side here, as well as adding a bit of a bulge here on the back for a much larger thruster. I opened up the bottom here, and I added 2 polycaps using a peg, separated and drilled into these toes here to insert the plastic rod, which will just mount to the polycap there. And that just sticks into this polycap. I will be adding a little bit of detail to cover the inner detail of the foot there, but this will kind of marry the design elements. I did have a detail here, but I did not like the old silhouette of the leg with this detail on the back here. It was too symmetrical, so this gives a bit more weight to the back of the leg here. So keeping this a little bit sleeker while giving a prominent knee and the prominent calf thruster, I think looked a little bit better. So I did have to cut away a bit of detail at the back here to accommodate this thruster and the mechanism. So I just cut out this detail here, drilled into the body there. There's no polycap inside there yet, but eventually there will be. So there's just a rod there that goes into a polycap. I just scratch built this container for the polycap, and so I can connect the rear thruster, the top here to there, and I'll insert there and also give me a bit of rotation. And I may add smaller pistons at the bottom. But for this detail, there's just some Blu-Tac over top of it to round out the shape elements a bit. But if we look in the inside here, I took one of the bell thrusters, shaved off a lot of this protruding detail. So I just added a plastic tube and then drilled 2 holes through there. This lets me mount this thruster piece while giving it the ability to rotate. And so in here, you can still see the inside of that part. So first I just lined up the holes where it needed to go and glued 2 rods to the side of the walls here. And to strengthen that up, I just added some small strips of additional plastic and just pressed into and down to adhere to the wall and to the rod to give it a lot of strength. So this part can be painted separately and have a rotating mechanism. Right, there we go. So we get a little bit of a rotation there. So we can take off the leg, foot there. So again, the only part is we removed this inner frame detail there, but this will house here. I just gave it a little bit more room to house this mechanism and rotate. All right, so after that part, you can see the pencil lines here, and those areas there, I cut out the lower armor. Move that for one moment. Right, so underneath the sculpt, you can see the armor there, cut a round shape, so you can see the detail there. And so all I did was I bulked up some sheets of styrene until it fit these gaps going at this angle here. And once I was able to add the detail, so you can see it there, I glued them together, as well as gluing some support parts there. The next step was to glue these parts to the leg here. So all I did was I put these parts into the thruster part and put some extra thin cement on the flattened area there and attached it and glued it. And so now, although it's a little bit tight, but you can see the fin slots attached there and that part attaches there. So it's a very similar attachment, it's just rotated out maybe 20 degrees and that part is mounted on the side. The inside is a little bit different, very similar concept. So there's the mechanical part there. I just made a peg and there was already a little bit of detail protruding there, so I just used that to work off of and add some additional depth there. And so now when this one also attaches, it will attach at an angle. So beyond that, this took some engineering, let's say, to get this part to work. There's a lot going on in this small area and it was very hard to work in, but I utilized a single Lego piece glued to the side of the inner frame here. On the inside, I had to add some pieces of plastic underneath So there was a peg right there, so I used a plastic rod, I think just from a runner, and pushed that through the Lego piece, and had to find the right angle for this to attach before gluing. The other element is this knee detail. Now normally this detail was on the top of the knee here, but I like the idea of having it on the bottom, just above the ankle. But for this one, I ended up flattening this piece out, carving a indent here for the mechanical detail there to pass through. This one utilizes a magnet with some epoxy sculpt over top of it to cement everything in, and now it's very hard. But on the other side, the other part, I had to add this protruding overhang. And so there is a magnet right there. And to self-align this part, I added this notch there and the other notch there, so when the magnets attach, they'll always attach in the same orientation and it won't shift around. And I don't have to worry about a hard attachment there. The reason why this was hard is because there is not a lot of room to work in this area here. So I had to mount this up and shave a lot of the detail at a specific angle so that when this is attached, everything still functions as normal. I wanted to get this to be as close as possible to the inner frame mechanical detail there while closed. Still function. There's still a little bit more detail work to do, but the attachment works. Legos were awesome. They work with the extra thin cement, so look forward to a video later for that.